Are you wasting money on useless survival gear? It's a question that hits home for many of us. In a world where unpredictability is the only predictable thing, being prepared is more than just a virtue, it's a necessity. But in the quest for readiness, we often find ourselves caught in the trap of over-preparation, spending our hard-earned money on gear that doesn't really serve our needs. In the realm of survival and preparedness, the market is saturated with high-priced gadgets, unnecessary survival food, and gear that's more flash than function. It's easy to get swept up in the promise of safety these items seem to offer, but let's be real. When things go south, it's not your wallet that's going to save you, but the right gear. And the right gear isn't always the most expensive or the most technologically advanced. It's the gear that's reliable, versatile, and suitable for your specific needs. The gear that won't let you down when you need it most. The gear that doesn't just give you peace of mind, but actual tangible preparedness. So, how do we navigate this sea of survival gear? How do we distinguish the valuable from the valueless, the essential from the excessive? It starts by recognizing the common pitfalls, the items that seem like a good idea, but in reality are a waste of your resources. From stockpiling foods you don't eat to investing in high-end water filters that offer little more than their budget-friendly counterparts, the list of potential money wasters is long, and it's not just about the money. It's about the space these items take up, the energy you put into maintaining them, and the false sense of security they provide. So let's cut through the clutter. Let's separate the wheat from the chaff. Let's take a hard look at the top 10 items that preppers, perhaps even you, have been wasting their money on. It's time to invest smartly in your survival, focusing on what truly matters. After all, when the going gets tough, you'll want gear that gets going. So are you ready? Let's dive into the top 10 items preppers waste their money on. The first wasteful item on our list is stockpiling foods you don't even eat. It's a common mistake, and it's easy to see why. You're at the store, you see a sale on canned goods or a great bulk deal on rice and beans, and you think, well, it's always good to have extra food in the house. But the problem starts when this food isn't something you or your family would usually eat. Now you might be thinking, but in a survival situation, we'd eat anything. And while it's true that hunger can make the most unusual foods palatable, it's also essential to consider morale and dietary needs. Having foods that your family enjoys can be a crucial morale booster in stressful situations. And if someone in your family has dietary restrictions or allergies, stockpiling the wrong foods could be more than just a waste of money, it could be dangerous. So, what's the solution? Simple. Stockpile the foods you do eat. If your family loves canned peaches, then by all means buy canned peaches in bulk when they're on sale. If you all enjoy a particular brand of pasta, then stock up on that. The key is to buy the foods you know will get eaten, regardless of whether there's an emergency. Another point to consider is the shelf life of the foods you're stockpiling. While canned goods and dry goods like rice and beans have a long shelf life, they don't last forever. So if you're buying foods you don't eat, you're not only wasting money, you're also wasting valuable storage space. To sum it all up, when it comes to stockpiling food, think of it as an extension of your regular grocery shopping. Buy the foods you love, buy them in bulk when they're on sale, and rotate them regularly to ensure they're eaten before they expire. That way you're always prepared, and you're not wasting your hard-earned money on food that will just collect dust in your pantry. Remember, don't load up on food that your family does not eat. Next up, we have expensive MREs, or meals ready to eat. Now, there's no denying that MREs have their place in a prepper's pantry. They're convenient, compact, and designed to provide a hefty dose of calories in a pinch. But here's the catch. They're expensive. I mean, really expensive. When you start doing the math, you'll quickly realize that the cost per calorie of an MRE is significantly higher than other food storage options. And let's face it, it's simply not practical or financially feasible to rely solely on MREs for your survival food storage. Imagine trying to stock up enough MREs to feed a family of 4 for an extended period of time. The cost would be astronomical, and the storage space required would be immense. Plus, let's not forget the variety or lack thereof. While MREs come in different menus, they're not exactly a gourmet feast. After a few days of eating nothing but MREs, you'll likely find yourself craving something, anything, different. So, what's the solution? Diversify, diversify, diversify. Your food storage should be a mix of long-term storage foods like rice, beans, and canned goods, along with a moderate supply of MREs for situations where cooking may not be possible. Consider freeze-dried meals, which offer a longer shelf life and more variety than MREs, albeit at a slightly higher price. Also, don't forget about everyday pantry items. Foods like pasta, canned soup, and peanut butter can last for years unopened and can provide a welcome change of pace from more traditional survival foods. Remember, in a survival situation, morale is just as important as calories. Having a variety of foods to choose from can make a tough situation just a little bit easier to bear. So, while it's okay to have a few MREs on hand, don't go overboard. There's no way you can purchase enough of these to have as your only meal. You need to have an assortment of different meal options and storage possibilities, because when it comes to survival, it's all about being prepared for whatever tomorrow brings. Moving on to number 3, overpriced water filters. Now, when it comes to water purification, many fall into the trap of buying multiple small water filters, each designed for a different scenario. You've got one for the river, another for the lake, maybe even one for the rainwater you've collected, and each time you buy a new one, your wallet gets a little lighter, doesn't it? But let's stop for a moment and think about this. Is it really necessary, or is it just another clever marketing strategy to make us part with our hard-earned cash? The truth is, you don't need a different water filter for every possible water source. Water, regardless of where it comes from, contains the same types of contaminants that you need to filter out to make it safe to drink. So instead of buying multiple filters, wouldn't it make more sense to invest in one good filter that can do it all? A filter that can handle river water, lake water, rainwater, and even potentially unsafe tap water. Think about it this way. By opting for a single, versatile filter, not only do you save money, but you also save space in your survival kit. And when it comes to survival, space is just as important as money. After all, there's only so much you can carry on your back when the time comes to bug out. What's more, having one filter simplifies things. You don't need to remember which filter is for which water source. All you need to do is grab your filter and you're good to go. And in a survival situation, simplicity can be the difference between life and death. So, when it comes to water filters, don't get caught up in the hype. Don't waste your money on overpriced models that offer little more than their budget-friendly counterparts. Instead, go for a good quality, all-in-one filter. It's a smarter investment, and it'll serve you better when the time comes. Buy one good water filter that does it all. Fourth on our list is bulk gold and silver. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that these precious metals will be your ticket to survival when the going gets tough. After all, they've been a store of value throughout human history, right? But here's the catch. When you're in a survival situation, large bars of gold and silver aren't as useful as you might think. Imagine this. The banking system has collapsed. Money, as we know it, is worth less than the paper it's printed on. In this scenario, you might think that your stash of gold and silver bars would come in handy, but think about it. Who's going to have change for a 10-ounce bar of gold when you're just trying to barter for a loaf of bread? That's right. In a post-collapse world, liquidity is key. Large bars of precious metals are hard to barter with simply because their value is too high for everyday transactions. It's like trying to buy a cup of coffee with a $100 bill. Except in this case, there's no bank or retail store to break it down into smaller, more usable units. So, what's the solution? If you're serious about investing in precious metals as part of your survival strategy, think small. Small amounts of silver, like coins or 1-ounce bars, are much more practical for barter. Their lower individual value means they can be traded for everyday items without the need for change. Plus, they're easier to carry and store. A pocket full of silver coins is far less cumbersome than a heavy gold bar. And in a survival situation, every ounce counts when it comes to mobility and ease of transport. In conclusion, don't be lured by the allure of large bars of gold or silver. They might seem like a good investment, but when it comes to practical survival, they're not as useful as you might think. You want small amounts of silver like coins or 1-ounce bars. They're easier to manage, easier to trade, and will give you far more flexibility when it comes to survival. Number 5, high-tech survival watches. In a world where smart technology is king, it's easy to be drawn to the allure of high-tech survival watches. These gadgets promise a host of features from GPS tracking, altimeter readings, barometer readings to biometric trackers, but when it comes to genuine survival scenarios, these high-tech watches might just be a flashy distraction. Why? Picture this: an electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, hits. This could be from a solar flare or a more sinister source, but the result is the same. the intricate circuitry and electronic devices gets fried. Suddenly that expensive high-tech watch on your wrist is nothing more than a fancy paperweight. But let's say an EMP isn't your concern. Consider instead a widespread internet outage. In this scenario, many of the features on a high-tech watch become useless without a signal to connect to. Your GPS won't be able to pinpoint your location, your weather app won't update, your message alerts fall silent. So what's the alternative? Think basic, a watch that tells time. It might seem too simple, but in a survival situation, knowing the time of day can be crucial. It can help you keep track of when to take necessary medications, when to start setting up camp before sunset, or even when to expect the tides to change if you're near a body of water. But we're talking about survival watches, not just any old timepiece. So add a compass. Navigation is a fundamental survival skill, and a compass is a reliable, signal-free way to keep you oriented. In the end, a watch for survival scenarios should be like any other piece of survival gear. It should be reliable, durable, and most importantly, functional, no matter what the circumstances. Fancy features and high-tech apps might be fun, but when it comes down to it, they can't beat the reliability of the basics. Your watch should be basic with time and a compass. Next up, luxury first aid kits. These kits, often touted as the ultimate in emergency medical preparedness, can seem like a great investment. They often come packed with a multitude of supplies, from advanced wound dressings to surgical tools and even medications. But let's take a step back and think about this for a moment. Are you trained to use these items to stitch up a wound, to administer the correct dosage of medication? In a high-stress situation, would you trust yourself to do these things correctly? The reality is most of us aren't medical professionals. We don't have the knowledge or experience to use these items effectively or safely. And that's where the problem lies. An overstocked first aid kit can give you a false sense of security, leading you to believe you're prepared for any medical emergency that might come your way. But when the time comes, you could find yourself fumbling with unfamiliar tools and supplies, wasting precious time and potentially causing more harm than good. Instead, consider the value in keeping it simple. A basic first aid kit with essential items like bandages, antiseptic wipes, tweezers, medical tape, and over-the-counter pain relievers is a much wiser investment. These are items that you likely already know how to use. They can handle a broad range of common injuries, from cuts and scrapes to sprains and burns. And remember, knowledge is just as important as the items in your kit. Take the time to learn basic first aid skills. There are plenty of free resources available online, and many communities offer affordable first aid classes. So, resist the allure of those luxury first aid kits. They may look impressive, but they're not practical for the average person. Instead, focus on building a simple, effective first aid kit that you're comfortable using. Pair this with some basic first aid knowledge and you'll be much better prepared to handle medical emergencies when they arise. Keeping it simple means you will get more bang for your buck. Eighth on our list is specialized hunting gear. Now there's a rabbit hole that's easy to fall into. The world of hunting gear is vast and varied, and let's face it, some of the gadgets out there are seriously cool. But here's the thing. Many of these items are specialized to a degree that they're simply out of most people's skill set. Picture this. You've invested in a top-of-the-line crossbow with all the bells and whistles. It's a sleek, impressive piece of equipment. But do you know how to use it effectively? Can you maintain it, repair it, replace the string in the middle of the wilderness? If the answer is no, then that crossbow is little more than a pricey paperweight when it comes to survival. This isn't to say that hunting gear is a waste, far from it. It's a critical part of any prepper's arsenal, but the key is to keep it simple. Instead of falling for the latest high-tech gadget, focus on the basics. Fishing line, fishing lures, snare wire. These items are not only more affordable, but they're also versatile and easy to use, even for beginners. And then there's firearms. In a survival situation, hunting small game will likely be your main source of food. For this, a small caliber firearm, like a .22, is ideal. It's lightweight, ammunition is plentiful and cheap, and it's suitable for taking down small game. It's a tool that, with some practice, most people can learn to use effectively. In the end, remember this: the fanciest gear in the world is useless if you don't know how to use it. It's far better to master a few simple tools than to lug around a bunch of expensive gear that's beyond your skill level. So when it comes to hunting gear, don't get caught up in the hype. Keep it simple with fishing line, fishing lures, snare wire, and small firearms. It's not just about saving money, it's about being truly prepared. Number 9, expensive bug-out bags. Now here's a trap many of us fall into, the allure of convenience. It's tempting to shell out substantial sums for these pre-assembled kits. But let's take a moment to really examine what we're getting. Are these bags really worth their hefty price tags? Often these kits are overpriced and filled with low-quality items that may not stand up to the true rigors of survival. It's a classic case of getting less while paying more. You see, these kits are designed to appeal to the masses, but survival is not a one-size-fits-all situation. What works best in a desert may not be as effective in a dense forest or an urban environment. So, what's the solution? It's simple, really. Build your own bug-out bag. Yes, it requires time and effort, but the payoff is worth it. By taking this route, you ensure that every item in your bag is something you actually need, something tailored to your specific survival scenario. Consider this. You're not just packing for an unknown disaster, you're packing for your survival. Your bag should contain tools and supplies that you're familiar with, items that you know how to use effectively. It's not just about having a bunch of stuff, it's about having the right stuff. Moreover, remember that you're the one who's going to carry this bag. Overloading it with unnecessary items will only weigh you down and drain your energy faster. Stick to the essentials that serve multiple purposes and keep your load as light as possible. In the end, your bug-out bag is an extension of your survival strategy. It's a personal kit designed to keep you alive and thriving when the world around you is falling apart. So don't entrust your survival to a generic, overpriced bag. Invest in quality items that you understand and trust. Building your own bug-out bag will allow you to have items you will actually need. So take the time, do the research, and build a bag that's perfect for you, not for anyone else. 10th on our list is solar power generators. Now don't get us wrong, harnessing the power of the sun to generate electricity is a brilliant idea. However, it's the scale at which some people choose to do this that we're calling into question. You see, there's a common misconception that bigger is always better. But when it comes to survival, adaptability and portability often trump size. That's especially true for solar power generators. Imagine this. You've invested in a large-scale solar power system complete with 40 panels and 500 pounds worth of batteries. It's impressive, no doubt, but what happens when you need to evacuate? You can't exactly pack up a solar farm and take it with you. The key here is to match your energy needs with the right solar power generator. A smaller portable system can provide enough power for essential devices like a radio, a lamp, or a phone charger. You'd be surprised at how much energy a compact solar generator can produce. In a survival situation, your goal is to meet your basic needs, not power a mini city. Larger systems may seem attractive with their high energy outputs, but remember, they also come with higher costs, both in terms of money and portability. Instead, focus on a system that's easy to set up, easy to transport, and easy on your budget. A portable solar generator can fit in your car or even in your bug-out bag. It gives you the freedom to move, to adapt, to survive no matter where you are. In the end, it's all about practicality. A smaller solar power generator offers the convenience, adaptability, and affordability that a larger system simply can't. So when considering your solar power options, remember, bigger isn't always better. Get something that is smaller, portable, and you can take with you. Because in a survival situation, the best gear is the gear that's there when you need it. Scene script, last but not least, large water storage options. When it comes to preparing for survival situations, water is undeniably of utmost importance. However, a common misconception among preppers is that bigger is always better, especially when it comes to water storage. Picture this, a 250-gallon water storage tank. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? But have you ever stopped to consider how you would move such a beast? The reality is you won't. In a survival situation, mobility can be crucial. Having to leave behind a large water supply because it's immovable can be a catastrophic mistake. And let's not forget, water is used for so much more than just drinking. We use it for cooking, cleaning, even gardening. If your water storage isn't flexible, you're setting yourself up for a tricky situation. So what's the solution? Smaller, easier to carry jugs. These are not only more practical, but they're also easier to store, and in a bug-out situation, they're ready to go at a moment's notice. You can grab a jug and hit the road, ensuring you have a vital supply of water with you. Now, this isn't to say that larger water storage options don't have their place. Rain barrel water collection systems, for example, are a fantastic way to make use of natural resources and can provide a significant supply of water. But again, these aren't portable. Having the ability to break down large quantities of water into smaller, more manageable units is a game changer. So think small when it comes to water storage. Invest in sturdy portable jugs that you can easily move and store. And remember, flexibility is key in any survival situation. Being adaptable and able to adjust to changing circumstances can make all the difference when the going gets tough. Smaller, easier to carry jugs are great, easy to store, and they will be ready if you have to bug out. So there you have it, the top 10 items preppers waste their money on. It's clear that the path to effective preparedness isn't paved with gold bars or high-tech watches. Instead, it's about practicality, simplicity, and flexibility. Let's take a moment to recap. When it comes to food, remember to stockpile what you and your family actually eat. Don't be lured by flashy sales or the allure of buying in bulk. Your survival meals should be diverse, not solely based on pricey MREs. One good, all-encompassing water filter is worth more than a dozen specialized ones. As for your wealth, remember that small, easily tradable amounts of silver or gold will be more valuable in a crisis than large bars. Your survival watch doesn't need to be a mini computer on your wrist. Time and a compass are the only truly essential features. When assembling your first aid kit, keep it simple and filled with items you know how to use. Specialized hunting gear can quickly drain your wallet and, unless you're an experienced hunter, likely won't be of much use. Stick to the basics like fishing line, lures, snare wire, and small firearms. Pre-assembled bug-out bags often come with a hefty price tag and low-quality items. Building your own ensures you have the necessary items that are appropriate for your location and skill set. Solar power generators and large water storage options may seem like smart investments, but they're often impractical and overly expensive. Opt for smaller, portable power sources and flexible water storage solutions. Prepping is not about having the most or the best. It's about having the right food, the right gear, the right mindset. It's about being ready to adapt to whatever comes your way. And remember, the goal isn't to survive, but to thrive. So before you make your next prepping purchase, take a moment to consider whether it's truly necessary or just another item to add to the list of things preppers waste their money on. Remember, when SHTF, your money won't save you, but the right gear will.